So I'm looking forward to a big footy chat out of 7 o'clock. A few teams completely blew it over the weekend. And question that notice, put this one on your agenda. Who was the biggest loser over the weekend? The team that really buggered it up?
There's a couple.
That Richmond Gold Coast game, is that really going to come back to cost the Tigers? And now they've got injuries piled on top of it
When
as well.
don't they have injuries? I mean, they are the soft tissue kings. They have that many hamstrings and soft tissue injuries.
Well, they might not have a ruckman this weekend
I did
either.
this on Classified last Monday night. I said, great if they've got the full complement, but they never have that. Now, Tom Lynch has done another one, and I'm sure there'll be more as the squad ages. But, yeah, that's the issue for them is their high performance, and I guess the ageing nature of their group leaves them susceptible to many soft tissue injuries.
Gee, they can lose their rag at the end, can't they, down the stretch, Richmond, in the discipline stakes?
Well,
they do some strange things.
That was what got them. I mean, the free kick against...
The Jaden Short one.
The 50-metre penalty.
What was he doing?
Even little things that aren't necessarily... Well, they are undisciplined, like letting the ball go over the back with 1:30 to go and Chol kicks that walk-in goal. So they have at times had their issues with discipline, but they have played on the edge, and with that sometimes comes some costly errors. But that was just a shocking 6 minutes of footy. I mean, who was the biggest loser over the weekend? Sometimes we tend to focus on the negative more so than the positive, but we'll certainly get to those who enhanced their reputations. But for Richmond, that was a significant loss because there was some momentum building, and I never really thought they were in the premiership conversation this year, but they would have been a dangerous proposition if you got them.
I thought they were showing some
at the
signs.
MCG, for a big final. Then you think, gee, they're going to cause you some worries, but they're just not good enough. They just don't have the depth, and when you take out a few of their key players, that depth is exposed, and there's a lot of players running around that have got big reputations but aren't delivering on those reputations for obvious reasons because of those battle scars. Players like when Cochin does play, would he be getting a game in any other side? I'm not sure. Would Shane Edwards be getting games in other sides if he wasn't Shane Edwards? Would Tarrant be getting a game in other sides if he wasn't recruited for that specific purpose? So their depth is a battle, and their midfield does get exposed as well.
So there's no Cochin, no Lambert, no Dusty.
Yeah, I mean, but a lot of teams have got injuries. So you look at Gold Coast didn't have Isaac Rankin as well, who's been absolutely on fire. So I think across the board, teams struggling with injuries, and these are injuries that Richmond have had for 4 or 5 years where they haven't been able to get their players on the park. So, look, they've got North this week, which makes it a bit easier for them to get back on track. Then it gets a bit more difficult for them. Do they make the 8? Well, a few teams did them some favours on the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, just on Richmond before we leave, and Lee Montagna pointed out last on a first crack, they've actually won the third most quarters in the competition. So only Geelong and Melbourne have won more this season, but there's 5 losses where they've coughed up last quarter leads, things that never used to happen at Richmond. And we touched on that lack of discipline earlier on, perhaps a bit of inexperience in an experienced squad, but there's some inexperienced personnel in there that perhaps when it comes to the crunch, some footy at the death and some mistakes that were costly. And we mentioned the Jason Castagnas of the world, Jake Arts as well. We didn't mention a shocking miss. Jaden Short, what was all that? And then the injuries on top of it all with Soldo. Nankervis is going to miss some serious footy now with a PCL. Tom Lynch's second hamstring, that's a few weeks minimum, you would have thought. And Vlosten suspended stupidly. Might have been the difference, just him playing.
It is a shame. It's a shame that they never will have their best sort of 18 available or their best 22 available. Because if they did, then you think, it's a different proposition. There's no way they get overrun by a young side with a 40-point lead if they do have those leaders and that experience and the likes of Dustin Martin out there to make an impact and put the foot down in the last quarter. But that's the problem that they've had for a long time. So, I think that era has been coming to an end for some time, and that was probably exposed on the weekend. But in terms of who had a big loss or who was the biggest loss for, then hard to go past Richmond over the weekend.